let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Lindsay Successor Agency to order and direct, are you the secretary, I think perhaps is what you are in this
I'll be secretary.
situation, to take roll.
All right, Member Velasquez.
Here.
Member Watson.
Here.
Member Cortez. Member Salinas.
Here.
And Chairperson Kimball.
Here.
Madam Chair, we will show Member Cortez absent with notice.
Right, thank you. I think we all saw that she has pneumonia. So. Okay, first item of business was a public comment for the successor agency. So the public is invited to comment on any subject under the jurisdiction of the Lindsay Successor Agency to the former Lindsay Redevelopment Agency, including agenda items other than notice public hearings. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to address the Lindsay Successor Agency to redevelopment? Seeing no one, we will close public comment and go to our business of the night, which is consideration of Successor Agency Resolution 18-01, adopting the recognized obligation payment schedule for July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019, and this will be presented by Brett Harmon, our Director of Finance.
Thank you, Chairperson Kimball. Annually in January, the Successor Agency to the City of Lindsay's Redevelopment Agency is required to approve the ROCs for the upcoming July through June year. It's where we map out how we're going to use the Successor Agency funds from the prior redevelopment, and we have those funds directed towards the payoff of loans that were taken out by the prior RDA we're paying off. It's a pleasure to say tonight we've paid one of those off. The Help One was completely paid in full in December. It was a final payment of almost $400,000, and in addition to that, we've made another $380,000 payment towards the RDLP. So what happens is once you've paid off the one, we're going to kind of snowball into the others. So we request the full amount of the balance for those loans each year. They only give us what's available through the pass-through for the ROPs, and then we apply that towards those loan payments. And so the information in your packet tonight goes through the report that we'll submit to the Oversight Board that will meet later this month. But the step tonight is to get your approval on it in order for it to pass on to the Oversight Committee.
Thank you, Brett. Is that
any questions?
Any questions?
No.
Okay, we've all had time to review the materials. What action would this board like to take?
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution 1801. All would the secretary please take roll?
Member Salinas.
Aye.
Member Watson.
Aye.
Member Velasquez.
Aye.
Chairperson Kimball.
Aye. Okay, with that, the motion carries 4-0. And with that, we will adjourn the successor agency meeting. And in about 1 minute, we'll open up the city council meeting. Thank you. All right, time to call to order this meeting of the Lindsay City Council and direct the clerk to take roll.
Councilmember Velasquez.
Here.
Councilmember Watson.
Here.
Councilmember Cortez. So she is absent with notice. And Mayor Pro Tem Salinas. And Mayor Kimball.
Here. Thank you. With that, would everyone please stand and join Councilmember Velasquez leading us in the flag salute.
Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have Johan Urbaez from Church of Christ is offering our invocation tonight. Would you please come? We invite you to come forward to the mic.
Hello, my name is Johan Urbaez, and I'm from the Listening Church of Christ, and I also work for the school district. So I want to thank everyone for the opportunity. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this day that you have given us. Thank you for all the wonderful blessings that you provide for us every single day. We're so thankful because you have provided us with a new day. You provided us with rain and beautiful weather. But we're so thankful for all the blessings that you give us every single day, God. At this moment, we ask you that you please bless each and every one of us here this evening. We know that you have plans and you know what our future holds. But we ask you, God, that you please be with our mayor, with the council members, with the community. We know that you have chosen them to be in this position, and through them, you're going to make our city of Lindsay great, God, and we're so thankful for that. We ask you that every decision that is made here this evening, it can affect our city, our family in a positive way. We know that there's so many families struggling with illness, and so many are going to persecution, but we know, God, that your power is great, and we know that you have chosen the right people for this great community to be able to have a peaceful city. We ask you that you be with all of us here, and be with not just us here, but with everyone that is going through hard times. And we ask all those things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Okay. We will now open our public comment period. The public is invited to comment on any subject under the jurisdiction of the Lindsay City Council, including agenda items other than notice public hearings. And we do have 3 public hearings tonight, so if you're speaking to one of those, please wait till that time. Otherwise, comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, with 30 minutes overall for the entire comment period, unless otherwise indicated by the mayor. Would anyone wish to address the council during public comment period? Diana, are you here concerning the roundabout, Diana? Because that is a public hearing and that will be coming up, so you could wait till that time. Is there anyone that wishes to address the council on something which is not a notice public hearing or tonight? If not, we will close public comment and move to our next item, which is council reports. Councilman Velasquez, anything to report tonight?
Since, what was our last
It's like a
one?
month ago. A lot's happened, no doubt.
No, I don't.
Thank you. Councilman Watson,
Not at this time.
Councilman Salinas. All right, I just wanted to do a quick report that TCAC staff is preparing the agenda for the January 22nd board meeting. There's a desire to hear from the city of Lindsay concerning the Measure R settlement and whether we are okay with the proposal coming from the ad hoc committee, which has 2 points. 1, interest to be removed going forward so that we pay only on the principal amount, and 2, that Lindsay be given a 1-year pass from making payments. Well, I have felt that we might have gotten better than this, and I know that there's some sympathy on the board. I also realize that there's no way other than this that we can get consensus from the board, and I think that it's worth getting board consensus. So my recommendation is that this not be a matter of contention, and that we graciously accept the concessions that are being offered to us and encourage that be placed on the agenda. So there's no objection to that.
Yeah, there's an objection to that.
Well,
I mean, I think if they're asking us, are we really happy with it? No. I mean, but, I mean, we're not, I mean, we're at a point where we'll take everything we
Right.
can take.
and
But I think they
that's my
also
point,
need to
but-
know that, yeah, we're just really not happy with it. But we're, you know, we're willing to, I mean, we don't have we can't argue it. But they also need to know that it's not our first choice. I think that's important to know. But I think if you don't, then everybody's gonna say, okay, well, that's, you know, that's easy. But I think if they understand that that's not our first choice, and it's not the best choice for the city.
But it
we're
is a
willing to
choice that will
accept it.
help us.
Yeah, any choice will help us.
Right.
Was that the only option?
That
Okay,
is
that they
the
brought
only, that is the consensus that came out of the ad hoc committee. That was the only thing that could, the option that could be agreed upon.
Better than a poke in the eye.
Yeah, I guess. All right.
I'll take a poke in the eye if they reconsider it.
Oh,
They're not
doesn't
gonna.
look like that's gonna happen.
I would just add,
I'll take
council,
one for the
that we
team,
have
I'm just saying.
we have several irons in the fire with TCAG. They've been an advocate for us, and
Yes.
it's a relationship that I think is worth building. And this is a step in the right direction.
But what will our savings be?
Well, the elimination of interest is actually huge when you're looking at 20 more years of this.
That's true.
Right.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you.
Okay. Our student report, Denise, anything to report tonight?
Today we just started school again, so kind of slow. Haven't had my leadership class yet, so no really projects right now. So, no.
All right, thanks. I'm glad you could be here tonight. Staff report, Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Labor negotiations are underway with the SEIU and are about to begin with the LPOA. They've been very productive. For Brett, it's been trial by fire. He's been intimately involved with this. He's done many things in his first year of being with this, so I very much appreciate his efforts in this. We need to have a meeting of the ad hoc committee related to climate tech. I believe Mayor Pro Tem Salinas and perhaps Councilmember Velasquez were on that. Does that sound correct? And so they have done the initial analysis. They have some recommendations to make, and the objective would be to consider whether or not we want to go out with an RFP. So it would be great if we could meet sometime in January. With your permission, I will set something up.
Sure.
Thank you.
You want to work off of Steve's schedule?
Certainly, certainly. Your staff met with the SCE's new government relations rep, Brian Thoburn, maybe a name from the past that some of you remember, and Edison planners Daniel and Justin. We discussed the circuit upgrades that you've seen happening out along Hermosa right now and some other things that are taking place. And we spent a fair amount of time talking about circuit upgrades related to cannabis grows. It's a big deal. They talked about one that's being proposed in Woodlake needing 2 5 kV services, Mike, 2,500 kilovolt services, and that's about double what NDS is using right now. So it's not just that you have an industrial site that you say, okay, we'll connect what's already there. In many cases, things that have been allowed to take place, such as a new subdivision, they look at the existing grid, what's being used, what's not being used. And so as these growth sites are going to come forward in the different communities, there'll be significant planning in place. I'm thinking it should be a hiring boon for Edison as they hire planners and builders for this. But it puts it on our radar. I know council has been concerned about what's the progress on this, and it indicates that we do need to get some things in place and moving forward sooner rather than later, so that they won't start their work until they have a firm plan in place. Edison won't. For the electricity needs, and so the property owner and whoever's going to develop the site, they need to know exactly what they're going to do, submit plans so that Edison can start the review. So we have our marching orders there. It was a very productive meeting with them. Staff has met, and I think I've mentioned this before, with representatives from AT&T about small cell deployment, as opposed to having in the old days the tall cellular towers go. It's been a bone of contention at the legislative level about having smaller cellular antennas that may be attached to utility poles, say. And your staff will be communicating with AT&T this week to continue that dialogue further. The idea is to get 5G out there into the neighborhoods. There'll be a Council of Cities meeting next week, Mayor Pro Tem, on the 18th at 3. Does that sound okay for you?
Yep.
Okay, great. We'll plan on going to that. And you may or may not have noticed, but code enforcement is out and about. She's being effective. She's meeting with people. I think she's having an impact. So we appreciate her. If you see her name is Marcia, and she's doing a good job out there for us. Your staff will have a conference call with HCD, and in particular, CDBG on January 24th about contracts and money owed. This has been a long simmering thing, one of the last things that we have control over that requires resolution. And so the wheels are in progress to start addressing that. We'll keep you apprised, invite you in if you want to be a part of it. From a utility standpoint, water demand is fine. We're doing fine. We're maintaining system. Wastewater system oxidation ditch motor was installed. There may need to be some minor repairs to that, a secondary bearing replacement, and the crews will be investigating that and taking action as needed. New Hickory lift station pump has been installed and working as designed. You may have seen some lifts out there at the corner of Hickory and Parkside, right, Mike? They've been working on that for a while. Judy Dreiger and some supporting people have been out there attempting to clean the America Spirit mural. She's been a bulldog about this one to get that cleaned up and get it restored to the best way possible. So we applaud Judy's effort in trying to get that done. A new flag was installed when they were out there just last Friday, right? Building permits, 21 permits were issued in December, total valuation of $770,000, and then it resulted in $21,000 in fees. That included 3 new single-family residences out in Autumn Hills, and so that's going gangbusters out there. I've got lots of data on maintenance update, both monthly and annual. I'll put this into an email and send it to council so that you can have that as a reference. I know certainly Council Member Cortez likes to have that for sharing. So rather than go through all the details, I'll send that to you. Let you know that Brett's been working on the mid-year financials, and he should have those ready to present to you at the next council meeting. We're going to be doing some outreach to the hospital board. There are going to be some changes as far as staffing and some things that we need to get done. I know Mayor Pro Tem's been working on lighting repairs, and I believe money's already been allocated to do those lights. I want to confirm that with them. And we have a washing machine that needs to be replaced too. So we're going to talk to those guys about that. Our auditors are coming to town this month, aren't they, Brett? So we're looking forward to that. Our annual audit is on schedule. Things are moving along, and we will see how that goes. And that's what I have for now. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Bill at this time? If not, we will go on to our next item, which is our consent calendar. The consent calendar includes meeting minutes for December 12th, warrant list for January 5th, the treasurer's report for December 2017, a temporary use permit for a circus at the old Lindsay Foods site, and DBP notice. So we considered with one motion unless someone on the council or in the public wishes to have an item pulled for further discussion.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
I had to second a circus. Yeah, really. Grandkids would get mad if I didn't.
Okay, our next item is a public hearing in consideration of Resolution 1801, the environmental review for proposed roundabout at Hermosa and Westwood. This will be presented by Brian Sponhurst, Assistant City Planner, and then we will open public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to provide some introductory comments to that, if I may.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, a roundabout has been a pretty hot topic of discussion here recently. A little history: back in 2006, in response to complaints from the school district and parents, we invited 2 representatives from the local government commission to town, Paul Zajkowski and Dan Burden, to assess the situation. They came out during the start of school. They saw the school, parents dropping off kids, actually sometimes even stepping out of moving cars to get kids into school. It was quite the mess. And they monitored it for a while, and they responded, the fix for this is a roundabout. And then spent the better part of the next week convincing us that that was the best solution because it didn't make a lot of sense to your staff at that time. These gentlemen are nationally and internationally recognized experts in safe routes to schools, in traffic calming, in pedestrian-friendly communities. We have all of their accolades. Anyone could look it up online. They're very well respected. So starting about 2006, we start scratching our heads trying to figure out how can we deal with this? And I know council's keenly aware of the number of people that have come here and said they didn't feel safe crossing that intersection, trying to get from north to south or south to north, either way. And so this has always been on a back burner of how do we deal with this? How do we deal with it affordably? Finally, Self-Help brought forth a project to do affordable housing on the southeast corner of that intersection. They wanted to do affordable housing. We addressed with them the concerns about getting disadvantaged, especially kids, safely across this intersection, and they agreed to work with us on finding money that would do something that would enhance pedestrian safety, that would calm the traffic, and that would help us with vehicle emissions. As we're all aware, we live in an area where we exceed emissions, and we have to find ways with every transportation project that we do to try to limit those emissions. Self-Help was successful in their application, and they were successful in producing nearly $1 million to help build a structure that would go into this location. And we've looked at stop signs, we've looked at traffic lights, and they don't tick off all the things that need to be satisfied to enhance pedestrian safety, to reduce vehicle emissions, and to calm traffic. Roundabout is the only structure that we're aware of that will do those things. And so we've been moving forward with that process to do initial designs on a roundabout to put in there so that we could start doing our public outreach. Once we had an initial design done, we coordinated with the school district. We've been talking with them throughout this process as well. As you recall, in our joint meeting with the school district, this topic came up, and they were supportive of a roundabout at this location. In December, on December the 5th, in coordinating with the local school site, they did an all-call out to stakeholders, primarily the parents of the children that attend Jefferson School. And they invited them to come in for a presentation, an informational presentation on what was being proposed here. We had about 25 folks show up. In addition to parents, we had some school staff, and we had some concerns residents around there. During that presentation, once it was concluded, we recorded questions, comments, and concerns. They are part of the record that you have tonight. I mentioned we had about 25 people turn out. We felt like we wanted to have a bigger connection with the public than that. And coming into the holidays, there really wasn't another time slot that we could do. So we elected to do something shortly after the new year. We posted a note on Facebook to get the word out that we were going to do a public meeting, and it was going to be an informational meeting at the Wellness Center. We saw pretty quickly, the beauty about social media is you can have a pretty quick outreach. The downside about about social media is there are a lot of opinions, and oftentimes they're not informed opinions. And unfortunately, some of the feedback that we saw, people thought that the city was going to expend monies dedicated to streets on a roundabout, on another roundabout, and roundabouts aren't necessarily popular with everyone. We learned that this past Wednesday. And so I wanted to make it clear that this roundabout is being funded with grant monies obtained by Self-Help Enterprises with the purpose of congestion mitigation. It's transportation related with the purpose of enhancing safety, with the purpose of reducing emissions. The city didn't get this grant. Self-Help got this grant. Any overages that are going to be required would come from TCAG bicycle and pedestrian funds, and we have about $2 million, Mike, in that account for doing sidewalks and that sort of thing. So it can be used for these sorts of purposes also, so long as there's a nexus, so long as we show that we're trying to enhance pedestrian safety and bicycle and pedestrian circulation. So we had the informational meeting there. I counted about 47 noses. I think we had about 36 sign in, and I know we had a couple of council members that were there too. That was much appreciated. And the majority of the people who came to that were not in favor of a roundabout. They were very much against it, and we had a sense that it was just didn't like roundabout, and fair enough. We wanted to do that. We have gathered their comments, questions, and concerns, and we will include those into the record. We will address those questions. We will include into the record those who attended both meetings. And as a part of that meeting that occurred on Wednesday, some of the folks that were there, they produced about 800 signatures of people who didn't want a roundabout. So we'll have that for the record as well. I wanted to kind of start off with that, but I wanted to stress that we're not using conventional city funds. We're not going to not fix a street in somebody's neighborhood to build a roundabout. That's not the case. We have nearly a 12-year problem that we have the opportunity to now address. Why are we doing this now? We're doing this now because we have the grant funding, and there is a window in which these grant funds must be used. If we tarry too long beyond that, those grant funds go away and nothing happens. And so that's how I want to kind of set this up, is that's where your staff has been. And with that, I'll pass it on to Mr. Swanhurst.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So today I'll be reviewing our Hermosa Street intersection project. We'll be reviewing the initial study and mitigated negative declaration. Just to start off, to get us all in the right mindset, the project is proposed to be located here at the intersection of Hermosa and Westwood. And I'll start off with the project summary. Tonight's request is to review and approve CEQA documents for the proposed Hermosa Street intersection improvement project. This is not a request to approve the final design. So think of it more as a request to approve the building envelope. Whatever goes inside can be tweaked, changed, altered to make sure that it fits everybody's needs successfully. This is a discretionary request. Your options tonight are to approve with modifications, direct staff to provide additional information, or deny the request.
Brian, could you take just a minute to define CEQA documents?
Yes, so CEQA documents we're reviewing tonight is the initial study and the mitigated negative declaration. The initial study just reviews the project as a whole, and then the mitigated negative declaration goes over those
sorry,
findings.
you're still talking like a planner, but
Sorry. Okay.
what does CEQA stand for, just for the public to understand?
The California Environmental Quality Act. So what the purpose of these documents are to accomplish is to ensure that a project doesn't have any adverse impacts on the environment. What that means is, will this project interfere with an endangered species that lives on that site? Will the project create a lot of emissions that affect the air we breathe? Will it affect the water that we use on a daily basis? So it's more pertaining to our environment around us and how that project connects to that, and whether or not it causes any issues. And if so, is there a way, are there solutions to help mitigate that so that it's not as much of an impact, that it's something that we can all live with and not affect the environment that we live in on a daily basis.
So, thank you.
Okay. All right.
You have a question related to,
Is there any way we can get the mic closer to him? Because when he's looking at the screen, it's harder to hear. And when he turned to us, it was great. But
I'm gonna try and I'll try to get as close as I can here.
thank you.
All right. So when reviewing this project, staff identified our purpose and needs. We identified 4 points that we'll be reviewing tonight. That is pedestrian safety as it relates during school peak hours, the morning when you're dropping off the children, and in the afternoon when you pick them up from school. Pedestrian safety all year round, what's going to happen outside of school hours, and how are pedestrians going to cross the street safely. To calm traffic by reducing vehicle speeds. We've noticed there's just cars traveling at fast speeds there, and we want to do our best to help reduce that. And we also want to reduce emissions. That comes from an executive order, S-3-05, and that basically mandates that by a certain year we reach a certain level of emissions, and there's several goals that the state has outlined for the state to meet, but as a city, we need to do our part in assisting to accomplish that as every chance that we can get. So in this project, we considered 4 different solutions. One we call the no-build alternative. That's just to leave the intersection alone and not make any changes to it. The other is a stop sign intersection. That's a 4-way stop in all directions.
The third option was a stoplight intersection that is fully signalized, and the fourth option was a roundabout. These are the solutions that we abandoned, and we'll start with the no build. Going back to our 4 goals that we had in mind, the no build provides no improvements to traffic and pedestrian safety. Everything would remain the same. By doing this, we would not reduce vehicle speeds. On the flip side, we would have emissions remain the same, so that's kind of a moot point, I guess you can call it, and therefore it has no environmental impact. So it doesn't meet all of the requirements that we're seeking to accomplish with this project. The next possible solution we took a look at was the 4-way stop sign. Going over the 4 points again, it does provide improvements to traffic and pedestrian safety by suggestion. Now, what I mean by suggestion is that a stop sign is not a physical barrier. That's a suggested barrier. A vehicle can choose to stop, it cannot choose to stop. And so in doing that, yes, it's there by suggestion. It doesn't necessarily guarantee that a car is going to stop at that stop sign and allow a pedestrian to cross or allow another vehicle to travel to the intersection during their turn. By that same token, the 4-way stop sign will also reduce vehicle speed, again by suggestion. It will lead to vehicle emissions to be increased. That is, when the vehicles are stopped at the stop sign and they're idling, it leads to an increase in vehicle emissions, and therefore it will have an environmental impact. Same thing generally goes for a signalized intersection. It does provide improvements to traffic and pedestrian safety and reduces vehicle speed by suggestion. It does lead to vehicle emission increase while vehicles idle at stoplights, and therefore it does have environmental impact. Which leads us to our last solution, which provides improvements to traffic and pedestrian safety by physical design, in that the roundabout physically requires a car to yield to pedestrians to, as they approach the intersection, to slow down. Everything about the design aims towards that goal of pedestrian and traffic safety. Same thing goes with reducing vehicle speed. Again, as you approach the intersection, the lane narrows. It causes you to focus more on what's going on in your surroundings. I don't know if you've ever been looking for an address or something while you're driving down the street and you lower the car volume so that you can pay attention better. Same thing goes with the physical design. It's just something in our brains that requires us to pay attention more and try to figure out what's going on. The project does also lower vehicle emissions, which helps us to achieve executive order, or aid in achieving executive order S-3-05, and with mitigations will have no environmental impact. As a bonus, this option does meet the requirement of the California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices to consider a roundabout in lieu of or in addition to a traffic control signal. As we went over before, we did consider traffic control signal, however, it does not meet our four goals for this project. Taking a look at traffic and pedestrian safety, this is the existing layout, and this is the proposed layout. At the existing intersection, the amount of conflict points for vehicles is 32 points, and the amount of conflict points for pedestrians is 24 points. What that means is that there are 32 and 24 chances for a vehicle or pedestrian accident to occur. And looking at the roundabout design, the vehicles have a total of 8 conflict points and pedestrians have a total of 8 conflict points as well. This leads to a 75% reduction in potential accidents for vehicles, as well as a 66% reduction in accidents related to pedestrians. Moving on next to vehicle speed, the existing layout, traffic is suggested to move at these speeds in all directions. Again, whether they stop or not is not a guarantee, and that's how the existing layout is portrayed there. The maximum speed limit is 35, with a lot of the section pertaining to the 25 speed limit when children are present school zone. And taking a look at the proposed layout and the fastest path calculated by OmniMeans, this bottom section here, and let me see if I can try to zoom in for us. There you go. As you can see, physically, the fastest speed you can go through in navigating this is 35 miles per hour. However, the slowest speed available is 13.4 miles per hour. That gives you that physical range that once you start exceeding that, that's when accidents start to happen. So basically in this design, it'll limit that fairly close to our 35 mile per hour limit. Let me go ahead and see if it takes us back. Taking a look at AM and PM vehicle stacking related to vehicle emissions. Let me let this clear out of the way so we can see our title here, and I'll follow along. This is the existing layout. So as it is currently in the morning and PM, vehicles traveling east and west generally don't have any issues except for pedestrians. That'll cause them to stack periodically. The real stacking occurs on the north and southbound traffic. They have to deal with both oncoming traffic as well as pedestrians, so they get it twofold. And so that causes stacking to occur more on those legs of the intersection compared to the east and westbound Hermosa. In comparison, a roundabout, vehicles will more than likely continue to stack. However, it will spread it out in all directions. And what this does is it helps the emissions to either be lowered or to have them spread out equally among all legs. With the roundabout, you get continuous movement, whether it be a vehicle or a pedestrian. If a pedestrian is crossing on the western side, vehicles can still traverse the roundabout if they're making right-hand turns, either heading westbound or northbound. It doesn't necessarily bring the whole intersection to a complete stop. There's always something moving. In reviewing the environmental impact findings, these are the mitigation measures that staff has found. Relating to aesthetics, we would recommend light shielding to mitigate any potential glare impacts on neighboring residential properties. This just makes sure that if we do install any pedestrian flashing lights, strobe lights, if we do install any intersection overhead lights, that they're shielded properly to make sure they're not shining in anybody's window. Relating to air quality, there's several San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District standard mitigation measures pertaining to project construction. It's just to make sure that there were no, they call them particulate matters, PM10, that they're worried about mostly, to make sure that those are well maintained by the construction crew, and to make sure that impacts to the air aren't created through the construction process. So these help keep that in check. Cultural resources, again, this is pretty standard, that if any resource of historical significance or cultural significance are found, any work within 50 feet is halted until qualified professionals, paleontologists, archaeologists are called onto the site, and they will determine any further actions needed. Do they bring the whole site to the stop? Do they bring just a portion to it? And they will direct action further from there. And the last one relating to noise. Any high noise construction activities are limited to the hours of 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. That just makes sure people have regular, normal hours to sleep in peace, and to make sure that construction activities are generally more concentrated during the day when people are usually at school or at work. With that, we'll move on to staff recommendation. This has changed. We are recommending that we table this project so that tonight's comments and the comments received on January 4th are allowed to be entered into the record and properly addressed by staff. That way we can make sure that we're on the same page with everything has been addressed and accounted for, and just to make sure everything's buttoned up nicely for council to review. We'll go ahead and skip the modifications part. If there are any alterations required to change or add mitigations, we would then have to give another public hearing notice and allow the public to also weigh in on those changes if they are made. So right now we'll aim to just table the project and come back and address any changes that staff, any comments received by staff. If there are any comments and changes that relate to mitigation measures, then we will go ahead and post a public hearing notice, which may require it to be postponed to the first meeting of February. So we'll keep everybody posted on that.
Brian, I'm gonna interject here.
Mhm.
We're actually, Madam Mayor, wanting to open the public hearing, receive public comment, and close public comment. We'll simply continue the public hearing to the next meeting, or as many as are required into February, to ensure that we've adequately addressed the comments that will have been received up until tonight. That's the recommendation staff is making.
Yeah, and if any mitigation measures are changed, we would need to renotice
Any
it.
additional.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
And so to begin public hearing, once you open it, Madam Mayor, I would like to request for me to go ahead and read off some questions, comments, and comments, and concerns received on January 4th, just to make sure they're entered into the record, and kick off public hearing with that, with your permission.
All right, thank you, Brian. And before we open the public hearing, does the council have any questions of Mr. Swanhurst? All right, if not, I will open public hearing. We will let staff address the questions and comments that have been received to date, and then we will open it up to anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council. Proponents are permitted to speak first. The council may ask questions of proponents or those who are in favor of this project, and they may respond. Then opponents, those who are against or those who simply have questions that they want answered, will be permitted to speak second, and the council may ask questions of the opponents and they may respond. Then there will be rebuttal. Proponents may rebut, and followed by opponents offering rebuttal as desired. At that point, we will close the public comment, the public comment period for the hearing, and bring it back before the council for any additional questions or discussions, and to continue the hearing till the next meeting. Right?
Can you make sure they come to the podium?
And yes, and you are requested please to come to the podium, offer your name so that our clerk can keep proper minutes of this meeting. Thank you. With that, I will open public hearing and give staff a minute to address the comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
received.
Starting with comments, one comment received was regarding an incident in Farmersville / Sundale. They were referring to a fatality. The next comment refers to the roundabout costing $1.4 million, and the comment also indicates that a four-way stop was indicated as running $300,000 per city staff on December 12th. The next comment is existing roundabout allows drivers to change direction. The roundabout helps prevent pedestrian accidents. And a sub-comment to that is people don't use crosswalks at the current roundabout. Another sub-comment is this intersection is not ideal for the roundabout per IIHS 2017. Staff would like to correct that to the IIHS 2017. That's the International Insurance Highway Safety Institute, I believe. The next comment is I like current roundabout because they don't have to stop. Moving on to concerns that have been received. People don't understand how to use the roundabouts. The next concern is roundabouts, I would say not promoting, don't promote circulation. The next concern is cost versus safety. The next concern is squeezing down of lanes leads to blocking circulation. The next concern is the buffer zone to slow down / lights at crosswalk. I believe that's more of a suggestion. And the final concern is that grant money is theft. Some questions received is what is the safest method? I believe that's pertaining to the options that we reviewed. Is the roundabout going to have pedestrian lights? Why are we doing a roundabout now? What are the cons of a roundabout? How are learners going to be walked across? Relating to that, will there be crossing guards? Also relating to that, what is the reduction of asphalt? The next question is why not a four-way stop or signal? And a related question to that is why don't they meet the criteria? The final question is, why doesn't Exeter have a roundabout at their school? Some additional questions include, will you allow school to stop traffic? Why don't you change school and circulation pattern? What is cost difference between installing roundabout versus the signal? What is the cost of a roundabout? How many parking spaces are being lost? Will the city provide assistance in crossing? Have numbers been reevaluated with new development since 2006? And can the funding be used differently? In addition to that, staff also enters into the record the submittal of 802 signatures from members of the general public who are against the roundabout. In addition, 2 letters with comments were received via email from Richard L. Harriman and Lisa Y. Flores, and 1 letter was hand-delivered from Trudy Wishman earlier today on the 9th of January 2018. And with that, now I will also pass around those copies of those letters as well for council to have on hand and review. And with your permission, Madam Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Brian.
I do actually.
All right, now open the public hearing for members of the public who may wish to address the council. Inviting first those who are in favor of this roundabout, if they would like to so speak, please come up to the podium and give us your name.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'm Tom Collishaw, the CEO of Self Help Enterprises. We're clearly and obviously in favor of this. We've appreciated the partnership. I just wanted to make a few comments. And first, I would say that I'm not a traffic expert. I mean, we're experts in providing affordable housing opportunities to working families, and we've been doing that for over 52 years. But when we had the opportunity and found this great site to provide that housing, right from the outset, the initial discussion, as Mr. Ziegler has pointed out, was we'd like to build a project here. We think it's a great site. It's a great infill site. The first thing that was said was we got to deal with the issues at this intersection. There are safety issues. There are kids walking to school. And so we did set about looking for appropriate funding, and when the cap and trade program became available, it seemed like the perfect way to sort of combine affordable housing opportunities with a solution to this problem. And so we're not experts on this, but I tend to trust experts on things like traffic, and it sounds like the city has gone about seeking expert opinion on this the appropriate way. It does seem like this is a solution that checks all the boxes. And, you know, I would say that it's for us, as now the owner and building a project, we now represent 50 future families that are going to be living at this site. And I would say on their behalf that we want to support this project as it is proposed. It seems like it makes sense. The city has approached this in a measured fashion and looked at alternatives. And while I understand that new things sometimes irk people and it makes them nervous, I live in Visalia and I hate all the traffic lights personally. I'd love to have some more roundabouts because I know these are tough decisions and you have to listen to people's thoughts on this, but from where we sit, it seems like it makes sense to move forward and we support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak as a proponent of this project?
I am Patricia Gutierrez, and until last week, I had not made up my mind about any of this. But once I sat back and saw the plans, it was the only thing that made sense. In a perfect world, I think we'd all like to not have Jefferson School there at all, and some other place. But in the meantime, until something's addressed with that, we need to do something. A four-way stop would be a nightmare. a nightmare. You've got 5 lanes and people, I mean, 2 on each stopping, it just wouldn't work. And so, at any rate, I hadn't made up my mind, and I saw the proposal last week, and it just makes sense. So, I'm in favor of it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council as a proponent? Seeing none, we would invite opponents to address the council or those with concerns.
Nicole, so I'm like, oh, she's... Okay, my name is Diana Mata. Good evening. I know a lot of you friends, neighbors, and living in Lindsay, we're family. My kids, when I was raised in Lindsay, I was born a long time ago. My mom still lives, she's going to be 90, and she lives in Lindsay, and that's one thing that worried me about her, but I'll get to that in a little bit because of the roundabout. When I came up to the meeting, I said, after hearing all these rumors, especially a joke at my staff lounge. I work for Save the Children, I work at Sunnyside School. And the jokes are, oh my gosh, Diana, we go to the farmer's market or we're in Lindsay, and your people do not know how to use that roundabout. I don't use it, my mom doesn't use it. I just really don't understand it. I'm sorry, but I don't understand it. And they're just jokes that we need to inform our people. I never heard about a lot of things really happening as far as accidents, but then I was wrong. We're a small town, and talk gets around. And when people retire or they lose their jobs, you start finding out about, we cleaned up before anybody knew. And it made me sad because I never thought or wanted to believe, but it happens everywhere. Sometimes things happen, and for some reason, we're blinded. And, hey, life goes on. We have to do what we have to do. But that really hurt me when I heard the things that did. When I went to the meeting, I went with an open mind. I said, I've been around roundabouts, the ones that they spoke about. I have 8 children. So, they're going to be around roundabouts. And they're not in the locations that are compatible to Lindsay. I was deeply hurt and shocked by what I saw at that meeting. When I was told at work, they're not going to go ahead and go. We're not going to go because they're not going to listen to you. It's already planned. March is when they're going to start this roundabout. I said, no, they're going to tell you, they're going to have another meeting. It's already done. Those people didn't go. I asked them to go. They would not go. I went to the meeting. I met Mr. Watson and, of course, Laura. And I was so excited that they were there because they are the ones that we vote for. You represent us. You represent the families. You represent the children. And like me, working for Save the Children, I love kids. You guys know that. I've always been there. I was extremely, not only frustrated, but disappointed. First of all, sometimes we get upset. I know I was a little upset. And, I go, my God, why did I react like that? Then I was upset when I saw my picture of the paper. I said, why did it go? But I was upset because I felt that the people that were talking there were not really going with an open mind. I think that if they would have conducted the meeting in a more personal level, like we are a family, Lindsay, it would have worked out better. But instead, what took place was a little anger, and it produced more people to be angry. And then I saw information. If you look at the PowerPoint Mr. Camarena had, and then the beginning with Mr. Ziegler, city manager. I didn't know him, so I didn't, know what to expect. But first of all, we heard, and he said, this is a long resume. Yes, it is. For a lot of the people, they were like, because they're not used to hearing long resumes or things. Working in a school district or in a lot of public places, you hear that, and that's common. You heard all this resume, Times Magazine, this. Then it came out to the year 2006. I still had 6 kids. I still had a pair of twins going to the school. I lived on Westwood for 47 years. I had not seen anything that was said there. I'm like, wait a minute, check. That's not true. Does anybody read my face? Oh my God, that is not true. And you guys, if you would live there or in your own street, you would know the information that they gave. So then he gave a town in Iowa. I Googled that. They have roundabouts, that this man put roundabout. The area was totally different than Lindsay. Had a port, almost triple the population. If you Google it in Iowa, almost triple the population. Then I said, how are your roundabouts? Thank God for technology where you can do that. How are your roundabouts working? Problems. They had to install humongous signs that tell people how to use the roundabouts. I know that maybe we could put those humongous signs where self-help homes are. They might not like it, or in front of the school. But after 2 years, Google it. You will see that after 2 years, those signs are there. If those signs are there and they haven't fixed their problem, should we take action right now? Or should we wait and say, what have they tried? Let's see what they haven't tried. I see intelligent people here. I'm sure they could come up with something even more creative. But that was what I read, and I'm like, would that be wise? No, it's not. It's not wise. So that one, I put a check there. That gentleman, 2006, the population of Lindsay at 2006 was like 8,000 some. How did they know that at 2018, okay, you're going to have your projections, but at 2000, how did they know? First of all, Jefferson School, they didn't have Garvey kids, because I worked at Garvey. I taught 6th, 7th, and 8th. So they didn't have our Garvey population. They had K through 6. So there wasn't a lot of traffic. The buses are not parking on the side of the road as they are now. When I get to the stop sign, I wait for the guards. Then I wait for the bus to pick up the kids. Then the bus goes into Save Mart and does a U-turn, and I go on the freeway. I go to Sunnyside School. People say, well, why don't you take Mariposa? I can't get in because there's a lot of traffic, so I can't get in. Now, so some of that information leads me to believe, why in 2006 was it like this, thinking this vision, when it wasn't like that? Yes, now the buses have to go like this, the parents have to go like that. I'm in that line. I don't care. It's not that much of a problem. And the things that they talked about as far as accidents, yeah, you're going to get some bumpers. Yes, you are. But I've never seen anything. I've been there in the morning. I've been there after, and I go through Van Ness at 2:30. The signs are there. You can't go that way. I'm there in the night. Why don't I see what happens there? You live there. I don't think you saw that. So, I had a question. I saw the things that they put on the thing, and I'm thinking, we'll give them a doubt. Then Mike puts on, well, what in Farmersville? It's a mess. So when you come out of the freeway, you want to go to the gas, because I want to go to the gas or buy a hamburger, you got to go around it. It's not compatible to that. It's not. He talked about Walmart distribution. Jefferson, Walmart, give me the connection. It was not there. He talked about Sundale. My daughter lives by not Sundale. My daughter lives by Shannon Ranch. It's over here. I just drove it yesterday. Over here, you go around. There's not that many. It's going to be developed. And then you come and you go all the way out here. There's the school. In other words, where was the connection? How can I, who care about kids, who care about Lindsay, I don't have the answers yet. You guys did not convince me that it's a good thing. Self-help said, well, we came and did that. I love that they're building things, but we needed something. Wait a minute, we needed something? No, you need us too. So I don't want to say that I think that this is kind of, I don't know. Was it a deal? Because it doesn't sound right. You know, and I don't want to think like that because we're in progress. We want changes. Lindsay, we're a family and we want things to be. But I think you're going to have to come up with a better, go out there and find those. And I think that you represent us. You represent the kids. You represent the parents. All of us. I don't think there's a clear picture. Hey, you guys can come back. Give us some examples of things that are compatible to Jefferson School. Because I know for a roundabout, the elderly, my street, I have to go through all the traffic. That's where the traffic is. You better build a roundabout in my front yard. Because I live on Mariposa and Westwood. Build it right there. Because the traffic that's coming from everywhere to go where? You want your medications? Where are you going to go? Rite Aid. All those elderly ladies. My mom's going to be 90. If she goes that way, she's going to go through 2 roundabouts now. If she goes through Westwood, she's going to go through 1. And all those elderly ladies, how are they going to do it? You have to go. You know that the shopping is your prescriptions, the grocery store, your nails. Okay, come on, we can do our nails. The dollar store and all the eating places. Those elderly people. We're going to be there one day, guys. You know we're going to be there. So how is it going to be? I think I just ask that you guys consider, give us some things that are going to really sell us on this project. Really sell it for us, for our kids, because whatever you guys decide, I trust you. I trust that my vote, my kids vote for you guys. You have the best interest, not of who builds a house, not of where they're coming to for whatever event, for the people, especially those at Jefferson School, until they find the right solution for their school, because that's not even the right solution. They need bus. They need a way to take out the kids, a bus route. They need to drop off kids, because I see it right now. The after-school program just came out. Dark. Here comes kids. A roundabout wasn't even going to help that. They were coming out through the parking, through their own parking lot, running to the cars on Westwood. The roundabout wasn't going to help them. Go stand over there. I just came from there. It's dark. So thank you very much. And, my recommendation, just give us a few more answers. And whatever you guys think, we trust it because you had our vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address as an opponent?
Hello, good evening. My name is Zeus Scott. I've been a resident here for about 12 years, going on 13 next month. I'd like to, of course, I am opposed to roundabout. I'd like to bring up and brush up on the fact that she just did say the elderly residents. Come on, we all respect them. I think we should all respect them because, like she said, we will be there one day soon. I work part-time at the Taco Bell right there, right in front of there. Not once in the past 5 years have I ever seen an accident happen there. I've seen the kids cross safely. I've seen them actually go onto Westwood like they usually do as well. The roundabout isn't going to help that as well. Seniors are complaining a lot right now. I see them coming up to the drive-thru, of course, because I speak to them. I speak to all my senior people who've been there for a good while. They hate the idea. They avoid that roundabout that's in the middle of town for a reason because they can't drive around it. You guys are about to put a roundabout right in front of Save Mart where they all go. About 95% of all the seniors go to buy their groceries. I also know that for the fact that my boyfriend does work there. He's been working there for about longer than I've been working at Taco Bell. He's seen it. It's nothing but seniors there. You guys are going to make it harder on them. It's a lot more harder. What other way are they going to go? The freeway, which they already avoid because they're set in Lindsay. They don't like to drive out of Lindsay. They have the fear of the roundabout. It's going to be nothing but hard. The week before that high-speed chase that went over the roundabout on 26, that week before that, there was already a senior who hit someone else on the bumper. It's just going to cause panic for them. I think that if self-help honestly wants to help the families around there, then they think of a better solution. If you guys as council members as well wanted to help those families, why not let that self-help program, the grant, also help the people who are looking for brand new, safer houses instead of limiting them, just like they were earlier. If the point is on helping people, then let them help people. That roundabout is just throwing money on there, which we don't need. That's obviously not the answer. It's not going to help anyone. What's the point of it? If the residents that are currently living here do not agree with it, how is it helping anyone? What is the main point? Kids don't go through there as well. They cross safely any other way. Who's to say that there's not another high-speed chase that goes through it again? There's high-speed chases, there's accidents that happen all the time, more in that little area. And yeah, the streets, they don't align. They don't align at all. The roundabout that's in Exeter, it's in a small center of town where you don't have big semis going around there. You do not have any semis going there. Where's the semi that goes behind Safe Mart going to go to? They have to drop off all the inventory. How about the dollar store? Where's it going to go through? There's no other way around it. I mean, they can try to go to the back, but it's a lot more harder for them as well. And you go and say that's not their problem, but honestly, it's going to be the problem for the residents because you're going to have one odd truck driver right there who's not going to know how to use a roundabout. People do not know how to use that roundabout. And that's the big issue. That's not a road to put a roundabout on. The road has to be smaller. Shannon Ranch, small little residential area. It works perfect for them. If it was a bigger industrialized area, then I would see that, okay, that makes more sense. But it's not. You have two little streets, which is Westwood, and then you have the big main street. It's not going to work out. It's just throwing a bunch of money. I think we need to look at things more differently. I think we need to find a different way to address this. And like I said, if self-help did want to help, they'd listen to the residents. They'd listen to them, and they'd put something else as well. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Anyone else before?
Good evening. My name is Trudy Bushman, and I did submit a letter. I think it's just put in towards some of what the last two women have said. At some points, just a couple. And I'm really addressing the adequacy of the environmental document itself. I think these are things we might want to look at for that document. These are the technicalities, I think, that were being raised by the women in front of me. I don't know, in the document, in item 6-16, where the transportation traffic impacts, and all of those have been either given no impact or light possible impact, but I think that the circulation is really stretched. I think that the impacts of the circulation system actually could occur, and it has to do with the fact that our roundabout, the proposed roundabout, and the existing roundabout both take 4 or 5 lanes of traffic and reduce them to a single lane or each direction before entering the roundabout and open back up. In my explosion of roundabout research the last couple of days, I've not found one other roundabout that's held up as a model of roundabouts that does that reduction of the lanes. The ones that are, I emailed Greg Collins. I said, Greg, do you know of any other roundabouts that do that? He said, look at Farmersville, look at Woodlake, look at Reedley. I looked at all of those, and all of those roundabouts that are considered good and adequate roundabouts in Tulare County, they're 2 sets of 2-lane roads that intersect. When you go under the national roundabout information, you see when the communities have 4 lanes of traffic, they have double lane roundabouts. Now that's going to take too much room for what we got right now. I understand why that hasn't been considered, but I have not found one roundabout in all the literature that's available right at the moment that squeezes down 4 or 5 lanes of traffic into 2. And I think that's where the real traffic circulation and congestion problems are going to occur. Not exactly right in the roundabout, but behind in the backup when the reduction comes. And that's where we have trouble in the current roundabout. But luckily, a lot of us know to go around the damn thing. When somebody at the meeting the other night said, yeah, you don't have any more accidents at that roundabout because nobody goes through that intersection if they can avoid it anymore. What we've got there is a mini roundabout. Someone pointed out to me today the amount of space we have for this new proposed roundabout is no more than the space we actually had at the downtown roundabout. But a huge part of the problem you have with people being upset about this is they've had 7 years to experience the difficulty of getting through the roundabout we do have. So I do think we've got real reasons to be concerned about this proposed roundabout, and it is good that we're going to delay the consideration of this document. The congestion is, I think the congestion is, there's a potentially significant impact, or at least not the reduction of congestion, because one of the main problems of congestion is on Westwood before you would get into the intersection. It's people coming to get their kids or to drop them off at school. Screaming for parking places, not finding parking places, having kids run out trying to jump in cars waiting in the middle of the road. This roundabout is going to reduce those parking places. Those parking places that people will shoot somebody for right now are going to go out of existence. You're going to make the congestion worse on Westwood in front of Jefferson School. Now, maybe there's something the school could be doing with that. I think if we have some more time, maybe we can find some solutions with the school district. I was at that joint school district city council meeting back at the beginning of this year, and I didn't hear them buying into the idea of a roundabout. I raised the question, how are the crossing guards going to get the kids across the roundabout? I still don't understand, from looking at this plan for almost a year, how the crossing guards are going to get the kids across Hermosa with the roundabout. I don't see how it improves the situation whatsoever. And so we need some demonstrations. I think we need some examples of places where roundabouts have been put in place in front of a school. We've got the combination of the school and the shopping center. And part of the problem is we had some bad planning about 40 years ago that got us in this position. How we get out of it, I don't know. But the problem at that immediate intersection is not the only concern we have with this roundabout. We also have the problem of keeping traffic flowing as it enters town and leaves town. This is our main entrance between the highway, which does not represent our central business district. It's the main entry from the highway to the downtown, and it's over a mile long. And if you have to go through what looks like a little residential roundabout, you're going to decrease the ability of people to reach or understand that they're headed towards the downtown spot. So I think there's also a circulation problem and an environmental problem in the sense of possibly even decreasing the flow of traffic to the central business district, which is already stressed enough. The last comment I have is about the planning process. I think people do feel like they have not been adequately solicited. I heard a lot of ideas at that meeting Thursday night. You probably heard the same, Brian. People had ideas about maybe we could do something different. Maybe we get Jefferson School parking. Maybe we can get the buses to go into a different place. People want to contribute. They want to be part of the solution. And I think we need to find some way to help them, help us become part of the solution. And I think that you'll find that you'll have a lot better luck getting your proposals through in the future if you do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council? All right, we will have a rebuttal. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Good evening, my name is Mark Ortiz. I've been a resident of this town for 41 years. My house is in that picture. When you pull it up, you show the roundabout. Roundabouts, the jury's still out. It's 50-50. Just as much as you can hear positive, there's literature out there that says there's just as much negative. Emissions are lower, fender benders are up, fatalities are down, bad for vision impaired, elderly, as it had already been discussed. My issue is that for me, or the thing is, it's been addressed that people just don't want change. I've dealt with all the changes. I grew up in that house, on the second house from the corner right there. I've dealt with it all. I've adjusted to everything that came forth from the school. I used to get off that bus in that little turnabout in front of the school and use the bus there. And now the bus is going the side of the road. I've been there for the blocking of the road, no left turn if you're coming into town, and then also no right turn. So when school's in session, I can't turn right to just right there around the corner get in my driveway, so I got to go all the way around. And because of the way the school has their system set up, you have everybody in their turnabout blocking the road all the way back, and I can't even turn down Kern Street to even come around to get in my driveway, so I'm completely blocked off. So to say that we don't want change, or I can just put myself in this position to not want change, I've dealt with changes. I deal with changes and I adapt to overcome. I've been in contact with the city as far as my concerns, being right there on that corner, and they've been willingly considerate of my concerns. My problem is that even as of today, the city says one thing, the school says another. It was told to me that we're trying to get it to where we don't have to block the roads anymore. That's the whole purpose of having this roundabout. But then I hear today, this morning, the principal of Jefferson Elementary has already stated to her staff that no matter what the city does, she's still going to block those roads. So what does that mean for me? Once again, I'm not going to be able to come home. So if I say, okay, let's just put the roundabout, I'll buy into it, because I'll tell you right now, at first I wasn't for it. I'm still not for it. I'm just trying to adapt and consider. But yet, I'm still facing the dilemma that I'm having about them blocking the roads, because my concern is, how do I get home? How do I leave? And this morning, the principal has ordered more signs to block the roads. So I'm wondering, where is this confusion? How is there a confusion? I mean, we're a small town. How is the school district, or not the district, it's Jefferson Elementary, it's her school. She's the ruler of that school. She's saying one thing, but the city's saying another. Like, in this small town, how is there that big of a gap where we're not going to block the roads, the roundabout's going to solve a lot of problems? Okay, well, maybe it will. And then, like I said, this morning, I don't care what the city says, I'm still blocking those roads. Matter of fact, we got more signs ordered. So, it's hard for me to buy into this, because I'm feeling like, okay, Mr. Ortiz, we're going to do whatever we can for you, but then in the end, it happens. I can't come home, and then when I go to the city and say, hey, what happened? I thought we, had an understanding, or, where it was going to be better for everybody, but now it's the same or worse. And then I get told, well, we can't do anything because the school has the right to do whatever they want to do. So that's my concern.
Is it fair for you to say you're thinking you're going to be blocked either way?
Pretty much. The way it's proposed, there's going to be concrete mediums. They're going to block my driveway. I've talked to the city. The city has said we can work around that, make some adjustments in the design so that you're allowed and your neighbors are allowed. We're the only two on that corner with driveways. To come home, I'm like, that's good. I appreciate you willing to work with, the residents that are there, like I said, I've been here 41 years. I mean, in that house. So, you know, for me, that's a big thank you to even, you know, to show that you're actually considering it. Because honestly, the feeling of the community is the city's going to do what they're going to do no matter what you say. You know, you can go here and gripe, complain, moan. Their mind's made up. They're going to do what they're going to do. Don't even waste your time. So if that's the mindset, and here I am seeing different, but like I said, in the end, I've had that problem where they blocked the roads and they said, hey, you know, we can't do nothing. That's the school. So even if you have the concrete mediums and an opening for me to come home, if they're blocking the opening of that medium all the way down and they're blocking the turn-in from the roundabout, I'm still stuck with the same situation. I can't come home. So for me, that's my concern.
Okay.
So thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council as an opponent of the project? If not, we will allow for rebuttal. Proponents may rebut.
Thank you again. I'll be very brief, but I just wanted to clarify that a couple commenters said things that I just wanted to clarify. One is one of the commenters seemed to suggest that Self-Help Enterprises brought this solution to the city, and that is just a mischaracterization. That this was a solution that was being considered prior to our proposing a housing project. We proposed a housing project, but then helped find a financial vehicle toward this solution. Secondly, there was a suggestion that why don't we use the funds for something else, or these grant funds for something else. These grant funds can only be used for greenhouse gas emissions reductions. So, you know, a solution would have to include that for these funds to be available. So I did want to clarify those two things, and
Right.
happy to answer any questions.
It's my understanding these greenhouse gas funds are very difficult to get, and it's actually rather a coup for self-help to acquire this grant as
I would say for self-help and the city,
has
yes.
flowed to the valley. So I just wanted to say congratulations on that. However it ends up,
Thank you.
it was difficult to get
Yeah, it was a big
that
deal,
funding.
and they were very competitive. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Rebuttal from proponents? If
Madam
not,
Mayor, I'd like to provide some comments
Thank you, Bill.
in support of. And so, Mr. Ortiz, I'm sorry that you had that conversation today. That's news to me. What I will say is, prior to meeting with you, I met with their maintenance supervisor, Merced. I mentioned that to you, and I also mentioned that their circulation study on site, and this addresses you also, Ms. Wishman, their circulation study on site is underway. They don't have the results yet. My concerns were they have inadequate parking on that school site. If you look at an aerial, you start counting sites, you get about 13 parking spaces, one of which is handicap accessible, which creates a problem for them where they're going to park. And so Merced indicated to me nothing was off the table. I looked at the green space in front of the buildings, and he indicated that that could be used for parking if that's how it comes out. And I looked at some circulation that I shared with you, just ideas that we had. So I don't think that's a done deal as far as them closing the street. I don't think the principal she can't be aware of the results of the study. I think she's preparing for what happens with the status quo. And the status quo is what's causing the problem. We wouldn't even be having this dialogue tonight if it weren't for trying to get those kids across the street safely, trying to come up with some solution. And the vehicle to that solution is greenhouse gas emissions. I'd love to know some alternative that would accomplish the same thing. I don't know what it would be. And Madam Mayor, I would like to enter into the record documents from the U.S. Department of Transportation related to roundabout safety. And it'll be available for review when we do our next agenda. It'll all be available for that. But I just wanted you to know that I spoke to you truthfully. And the city does have the ability to control what happens in the city. The school district has the ability to control what happens on their school sites. They are regulated by the state. But we will continue to work with them, Mr. Rooney, the entire staff, to see if we can't make that a better situation there. And staff, I myself am personally committed to trying to come up with a better scenario than you have right now. I wouldn't like what you have right now. And I mean that with all sincerity. So we want to do that. We want to keep the kids safe. Folks, I would just ask, my door is open. You can meet me in the park. You can meet me here. But bring an alternative that works, that satisfies the conditions of these grants. It's $1 million. And if we don't use it within a certain amount of time, it simply goes away. The city does not have the money to do something ourselves. For what it's worth, that's the reality of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I neglected to mention that staff may respond in rebuttal to comments that are made to clarify. So I appreciate you doing that. Brett?
Maybe I just add, we've had Shannon Ranch mentioned a couple times tonight. There's a roundabout on the west end of the school there. My house is 2 doors over from that roundabout. So from my upstairs window, I can see the roundabout. I have 4 children at school. 3 of them attend Shannon Ranch. One's at Redwood High School now. And as that roundabout came in, it was in before the school was built. It took a while for the school actually come along because they didn't pass the bond the first time around. But what we have is we'll have one crossing guard can handle the entire roundabout. And what the children have learned to do is they come up and they stop on the sidewalk and wait. The crossing guard comes out with their stop sign, meets the kids, stands in the middle with the stop sign raised above their heads as all the kids file across and they stop. It's designed so that the crosswalk guard can then cut across the edge of the sidewalk while the kids are on the larger part of the sidewalk to the next crossing point and then escort them across that one. And all the kids stop and wait at the 3 corners waiting to reach the corner for the school, and they go on their bikes around the rest of the way. It's been a great way to get our kids to school and back. They can leave on their own and get there, and we know there's crossing guards. They've had 2 crossing guards in the past. Sometimes they'll each take half the streets, but one can manage it on their own.
Just a minute, Diana. I will allow for rebuttal from opponents, but first, if we have to see if anyone else wishes to rebut as proponents. I don't know. It will come back for council to make comment.
Got it.
Okay. And seeing no one, you are invited to rebut.
You know, kids really, I'm always worried about their safety, 10 grandkids. My daughter lives in Shannon Ranch, right there by the school. And I've been there many times, and I take care of the kids, and I'm there when school, they're going to go to start preschool. And we looked at it, we go, is it safe? You know, what are you going to do, Marisa? How are you going to get your, Brendan to school? How are you going to walk him? How are you taking him in the car? I go, let's go look. It's not that easy. Even the crossing, the first one, I don't think you live by this one. There's nothing there. Then you go over here, Shannon Ranch is right here. The school. So then you live.
So back of my house butts up to County Center. So Shannon Parkway County Center, it's the southwest corner of the school property out past the soccer or the sports fields.
Okay. Well, when we went there, I said, let's just look because, I know I'm retiring. And they say that I'm going to be the babysitter. So it's like, hey, I want to know what I have to do. I want it to be safe. I didn't see the beauty that you talked about right now, the dream, because that's not what I saw. I saw more of kids, like, some of them like, do I go now? With their buddies, do I go now? The cross guard, if that was so easy, what I hear that they want to do in Lindsay is they have 2 cross guards. And they're fine. I don't know their name, but they wave at me. The 2 gentlemen were there last year. The 2 ladies are there this year. And the kids go really well with those crosswalks. And we follow, we listen. Sometimes the police is there, but they're not there. They haven't been there in months. But we follow the rules. It's a routine now. And then they were saying that now they're with this thing in the middle, that they're going to take kids to the middle. They're going to wait. And then they're going to take them over, kind of like a hopping, that they're going to need 4 crosswalk people. Is that correct? No? Somebody said 4? Is that? I thought it's crazy. No?
No.
I think that's what Mr. Harmon just said, is that they only need 1 at the Shannon
okay,
Ranch.
because they have 2. Over here right now, they do have 2. And so, the community is getting some mixed things because I was told 4. I think it was 4. That's the first thing that, enter my mind. But no matter what, it's not easy. They're not easy. You have that middle part, and especially when you hear about the reality of what the roundabout has done in Lindsay. I don't use it. My mom doesn't use it. My family doesn't use it. I don't use it because I know it's difficult. It is difficult, you guys. You know that. The sad part about the reality is, and you know, when you have this little, should I say something? Should I not? But you know what? I'm just going to say what I hear. And like the 4 crosswalks, it might have been wrong, but this is what you hear. And you guys should hear this. And you guys could probably bet your jobs that you guys can say that this is not true. And you bet your jobs on it. They say a lot of the people that have had accidents there at the roundabout that we have now, that a lot of those statistics are not in the records. They're not. Things get moved around fast. Oh, okay, well, you settle it. The police doesn't come. Now, you could go to St. Mark. There are 2 people that had an accident. You can go, there's other people that had an accident. And like I said, there's employees that retired and employees that have been there, and they've seen what has happened. But you don't want the roundabout to look bad. You don't want it to. You don't want people to hear roundabouts are bad. Not that when you put a lot of money, you know, hey, no matter what you heard, you know, we went through a lot of talk about the roundabout. Hey, let the roundabout be. It's pretty. You know, if you know how to use it, use it. If you don't use it. That's the way I see it. Don't use it. If you don't like it, don't use it. If other people feel that our residents are not using it properly, then don't use it. Go to yours in Exeter. If those Exeter people are talking about my roundabout, you know, you go use yours in Exeter. But the thing is, when you hear about the numbers, and they're not correct, they're not correct. They're not correct. Because I can tell you, if you two can say right now, because we could bring these people here, it's only fair. They could come and say, no, but I had an accident. No, I cleaned it up before it was reported, and your numbers are at what your numbers are. Then you don't have a choice but to say, you know what? They got a good idea. I'm for it. And nobody, and the residents don't have a choice because they should be for it. Because the one that we have proves that it's safe. The numbers that you gave are correct, and it's safe. You don't have people that are going over it like Mr. You know, he went over. Or the one that got hit when she was trying to go. Or the man from Save Mart that got hit and he went over it. Or a number of people, or the people that cleaned up the mess. And I think some people are going to get in trouble. But, you know, we're talking about kids. We're talking about the elderly. We're talking about residents. We're talking about you guys. Me in a couple of 10, 15 years when we're not going to be using that roundabout. I told my mother, take your prescriptions to Exeter, go through, you live in Tonyville, go through Exeter. And if I don't like the roundabout, I can move. That's a solution. But the thing is, let's be honest. Let's be honest with let's look at a roundabout that we have right now. Before we get to this place where, you know, self-help, they brought in these 50 homes. I would like to know, working in a school district, there are a lot of those kids from Washington school families that might live there. How do you know that those kids are going to go to Jefferson? Okay, their parents might take them to Washington or Lincoln, because you have that option. If the people are moving from other areas of Lindsay to a better home, that doesn't mean, hey, we know our school districts, we know our district, we know where we want our kids to be. We were always selected because we are parents that care. We know where we want to send our kids. I work there, I know. And we're no different than anybody else. So for us to say that we know that those kids are going to be going to Jefferson, maybe they're not. You don't know. Maybe they're not. We have a lot of your Lindsay students at Sunnyside. A lot. We have a lot of inter-district agreements because they like the small school. And it's a choice. So my thing is, let's just look at it a little more. Let's find out how that roundabout has really worked. Is it really right? In a location that's not as dangerous as over here. Okay? Because we don't know those families in the self-help homes where they're going to go. So don't just think they're just going to go to school across the street. Because that's not reality.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We're still open for rebuttals from opponents to statements made by proponents in rebuttals. So you should be responding to the proponent rebuttal if you would speak now. Is that clear to anybody? Anyone else wish to speak before we close this public comment period?
I'd like to add, I've seen that Shannon Ranch roundabout, and it's not, like you said, the same area as it is here. Right in the entrance of town, bigger street, you're completely in the entrance, market's right there. It's not the same thing. To be considering it the same one, it's not. Those kids are not going to be crossing around that roundabout the same exact way. You're pretty much, it's an invalid form to be considering it. Hey, this is going to be, it's going to work exactly that same way. It's not. It's not. And like I said again, might be the grant. Yeah, it might have been hard. But if they are going to build that sports center across the town, and there's going to be a lot more economy coming into the city, why not wait? Why not bring something else later on? Just easier. Instead of putting that roundabout right there that everyone's going to have to force to go around it, you're going to force, again, the seniors to go around it, which they cannot go around. I mean, come on, bring some more respect on there. They can't go around that roundabout. It's hard. It's hard, and it's sad because I see them all the time talking about it. I see what their worry is. Mr. Salinas, I see you walking, you're going around your golf cart all the time. You help them. Come on, bring them into consideration. If it means that next time I do have to bring, record them talking, because I'm pretty sure it's hard for them to come out here at night, that means I have to record them, then I guess so. I guess I have to take my time to go and record them right there just so you can hear their voices. Let's be more thoughtful about this, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one, we will close the public hearing comment period, bring the item back before the council. If the council has any additional questions or comments to make, now would be the time.
Comments to make?
Well,
Brief. Brief comments to make. Oh, sure.
Or questions to ask.
No, we've been talking about this roundabout, for years, and we've gone to, reviewed other roundabouts all over in different cities. I work in Corcoran, and they have a roundabout on Highway 43, and everybody in Corcoran said they hate it, that that's a dumb thing to do. Why are you going to put a roundabout on the freeway? I talked to them today. I talked to 3 people today that were against it, that said, oh, it's good. It's actually a good thing. And they changed their whole idea of the roundabout just because they really didn't understand the process, because that was Corcoran's first one. I go through that roundabout daily when I go to work. I've seen major accidents. Of course, it is a freeway. But I've seen major accidents on that freeway numerous times over the 17 years that I've worked in Corcoran. And over the last year and a half or so there hasn't been one that I know of that I've seen, and I've witnessed quite a few of them. So I know, and I understand, Dan, that, you have an issue with roundabouts, partly because you don't understand it, because you don't get how they work, and so that could be some of the fear that you have. I would obviously suggest that you find a way to learn how to use them. Maybe that would help you get that fear away. I go through this roundabout in downtown every morning when I go work out in the mornings. Judy mentioned that nobody's using it. I see tons of cars using that roundabout. So I don't know. Trudy and I can disagree. Diane can disagree about the number of cars that use it. I see cars using that daily. That was, the use of the roundabout has not gone down. I think people are using it even better. As far as the seniors, obviously if there's an issue, that may be something we need to think about as a training issue. We have a senior facility here, that's something we certainly need to make sure we are considerate of our seniors. I'm actually a senior. I'm old enough to be a senior and I get discounts, so I know I am. And so, it's about education and helping them. And helping them understand how to use the process, just like we had to help them use cell phones and the ATM machines. All those things are things that everybody transitions and learns how to use. As far as Mr. Ortiz, Mark, you talked about, and I just want to say that I'm really sorry that you have that blocked road, and I'm certainly want to find a way that we can stop that. I know that it's a tough issue. That whole process, when they first came up with the idea of how to mitigate that, before it talks about the roundabout, and they talked about blocking the roads, not letting them turn right. That was a big discussion. People came and they said, well, the police need to be there. And then when the police were there, people came and said, well, all the police do is give you tickets. Yeah, because you're letting kids out without without pulling over. So, you figure out a solution. There's always going to be another situation that comes because of it that's maybe going to get somebody else mad. So we're trying to figure all those things out. And I certainly want to be a proponent of helping you figure that out. I did talk to people at the district, and I can, somebody said something about the district didn't seem like they were in favor of it. That's totally opposite of the information I got from the administration at the district, Lindsay School District. They were certainly in favor of it and working on, as Mr. Ziegler said, working with staff is working to try to make sure all the situations are looked at. And I know this is something new to a lot of you. I think Trudy mentioned it earlier that she's been looking at this for years. So it's not something new that's coming before us. It may be new to you guys because you just heard of it, or you just, for some reason, you became interested now versus, you weren't interested a year ago, or, 2006 when we first brought this up. And so I know it's a concern to you now, and we respect that, but this is a process that we've been working on for, 11, 12 years, whatever that comes out to. So we certainly, my personal opinions of roundabouts is positive. I think roundabouts work. I've seen them work. I've seen them save lives. And so, I did listen to everything you have to say, and those issues that you have. I think we need to make sure we investigate them and see if there's anything that we can do to help mitigate that. So I just wanted to let you know where I stood, so you had no doubt where I was at in this whole process. Okay?
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
Didn't mean to go into a big old
you're
speech.
fine. That's your
They don't
job.
get to learn, they
It's
don't
all
let me
right.
talk much, so.
That's what you're here for.
Yeah.
That's good. Brian or Jenny, any comments or?
Yeah, I've got a few things. Just, I appreciate the heartfelt concerns. Clearly, this has been a problem for a long time. And I would hope that the passion that has been shown here with us at the city level will be equally stressed at the school level. Because I think it's clear that as long as that school is there, there is no good solution. I mean, we're just looking for the best solution out of the solutions that we have. You know, and I am confident that we're willing to make any reasonable accommodation for the people that work there or live there, like Mark and others, that we can. And maybe part of the thing is maybe we can reduce the speed of people going through there. Maybe there's some way we can modify the medians where the pedestrians stay, because you know, I think they'll be a little bit wider where the pedestrians will be in the middle than the one we have now, which will be nice. But I think that there's some things that we can do to help reduce the potential for the children having an issue there. I think that's completely reasonable. As I said, I do a little research, and so I found a February 2017 U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration report that I'll leave for the record. Anyone can see it. It has 42 references, 11 different states. The state of Kansas was 190 pages alone. Everything you didn't want to know about a roundabout is in there. But we are in a unique situation, Diane, in there. There's no doubt about it. This is a very unique situation. And so for us, we've got to decide, okay, well, what can we do that will be the best? And with the funds that we have available for us. And so that's kind of, at least from my point of view, that's where we are. You know, I've been doing the roundabout now, well, since it's been there. I certainly like the fact I do not have to stop. But I understand, and I know your dear mother. And roundabouts are tough for a lot of people, and the elderly especially. So I don't know what we can do to help with that. Education, and that was one of the things that this report did talk about, was the importance of education. And maybe there's something we can do to help our citizens better understand how to navigate these roundabouts. And if there is, we will do it. And so I will leave this report here. Anyone is free to get it, or you can look it up, online at your convenience. And it has some valuable information in it. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Salinas?
During the Orange Blossom Festival time, when we're selling tickets right there at Bob's Drive-In, we're sitting at that intersection at Bob's Drive-In, right there, the roundabout. And the years that I've been there, I've never seen an accident happen there. And I know they happen because I know people that have been hit there. Not people, the cars have been hit. So you can't say, I can't say that cars haven't been hit there. But I've also been in Lindsay long enough where I've seen cars getting hit with the four-way stop. So for one to say one way or the other, I'm not going to say it either way, because I've seen them both. So as far as the roundabouts, I've been in a roundabout here in Lindsay. I go through town probably 100 times a day or so. But I've been in one in Long Beach that has the multiple lanes that Trudy was talking about. And if we were asking for that, I'd be totally against it. I can't figure that one out, and I've been through there many times. But I don't want to get lost, so I have to do it in Long Beach. Recently, we put 3 signs up near my house where there's that calming circle. And the amount of people that are doing it correctly now is amazing. I hadn't had a chance to talk to Mike about it. But we've never put up signs there because it was a residential area, and we figured people are going to go slow. And it's amazing how many people, and I'm not sure if they're the same people or not, but I'm out there washing my car or something. I'm like, wow, this really worked. It was just a little bit of, not education, because we just put up signs and it worked. But we still have those people that want to go fast, and it's just the way it is. But the accidents that I've seen now compared to them, they're not T-boning anybody, and that's a big issue for me. If you're T-boning, you're hurting somebody. And if you're just, I mean, if you're hitting it in an angle, you're not. So that's one of my biggest, why I like the roundabouts.
Thank you. Okay. I thought it was interesting how many of us have connections to students at Shannon Ranch. I also have grandkids going to Shannon Ranch.
I apologize. One other point that I really like is when you need to leave the City Market Shopping Center, and if you do pull out by the donut shop on that end and need to be heading west, like I do a lot of times, the roundabout would be really nice to be able to put with you. Instead of having to turn down Westwood, find a place,
Yeah, I've done that more than once myself. I understand that issue.
That's a big plus.
And I have heard from many residents, from residents in the Grove who are senior citizens who are really looking forward to there being a roundabout because they cannot get out on Hermosa from the south. There's just too much traffic, and the roundabout will enable them to do that. This council cares deeply about our community and about student safety, pedestrian safety for all of our residents, and we're going to make a careful decision. Staff has requested that we continue the public hearing to give them time to respond to letters and comments received today. The comment period has been closed. The council will continue to reflect and discuss before making a decision when staff is prepared to bring back their report. A reminder, this is a decision on the environmental review, and we will have further discussions on the design of the roundabout and the safety features that might be included in it. This is environment and CEQA document review, which has been challenged here tonight, and hence the request for a continuance by staff.
And Madam Mayor, you would need to make a decision on the 23rd. You have the ability to continue it again at that time if a decision hasn't been reached, but for the agenda, this needs to be brought forth again at our next council meeting.
On the 23rd. So do we need a motion to continue it?
You do, and specifically to the 23rd, you don't.
Okay.
If you need more time and you need to postpone it, but it has to be to a date certain, and so we have to continue the public hearing to January 23rd.
All right, thank you. So with that information, is there a council member who'd like to make a motion on that? So we have Velasquez, seconded by Salinas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, public hearing will remain open for council discussion till the 23rd. Thank you. With that, I think that some of us may need a break. We will take a 5-minute break before we continue with tonight's agenda. And public is invited to stay, or you may go ahead on your way at this point. Thank you for being here. But the room has cleared, so this should go quickly. Ordinance 526, amending municipal code pertaining to accessory and garden structure height limitations. First reading, presented by Brian Sponhurst.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So Ordinance 562 is a request to amend municipal code sections 1807050 and section 1808050, so 07 and 08, pertaining to the single-family and multifamily residential districts, regarding the allowance of height, the height of accessory structures on those properties. In a brief summary, applying to both the single-family and the multifamily residential zones, staff is requesting that height be brought up to 15 feet. Currently, it is 7 feet. The reason for that being is that we've received an uptick in a request for certain structures like pergolas, gazebos, other accessory structures that many property owners are wanting to add. They add aesthetics to the home, they add property value. It's a nice place to go out and enjoy a cup of coffee or a glass of lemonade on nice evenings or mornings. So
you know who I am, man. Have we met?
And so with that, we're recommending that the height be brought up to 15. This will allow, if there are any roof pitches that need to be accommodated, just to make sure water flows correctly. Staff still maintains the setback requirements on the side and rear yards. That way, these structures are not pushed up against fence or property lines, and that way the roof structures do not have the chance to drain onto the neighbor's property. That's just a chance to give our residents here in Lindsay the opportunity to build something with a little more beauty to it and a little more height to it. The current limitation is 7 feet. A lot of people just aren't able to accommodate what they have in mind at a 7 feet, at a 7-foot height, without having to go through a variance and having to go through a variance every single time. I mean, with it being really council's decision, many community members shy away from that just because they're scared of paying that money and then the possibility of it being them being told no, they cannot do that. So that's the reason staff has brought that request up today. If council has any questions, I'd be happy to address them. Before that, though, I would also like to note that on the side yards, staff still is requesting that remain at 7 feet, just so that a gazebo or anything that can fit, if they do have that side yard width, that it does meet that 5-foot requirement as well on the side. The idea is that if we get too many structures on the side yards that are really high, well, some of us are envisioning beautiful gazebos and beautiful pergolas. Somebody can put an easy up or something that may not be as aesthetically pleasing, and that would basically force the neighbors to all see that from the public right of way. So a little bit of trying to balance it out really, and give the public some more opportunity to accomplish their goals for their home, while still trying to maintain a beautiful Lindsay for the rest of the community.
Thank you. Any questions for Brian? Do you have an idea how common this might be in other cities, what they're moving towards?
In my research, the heights have ranged from 12 feet all the way up to 30 feet. So it's quite a big range. We're shooting more towards the lower end just because we don't really want multiple stories to be going on. At that point, it may be a residential structure they're trying to build, something else. That's
a guard tower or what?
Exactly. So we're sticking more towards the 15. A lot of the requests I've received in my site plan reviews have been around that range or under. And so this will accommodate a large portion of those requests while still allowing them to not have to go through the variance process. So basically anything over that would need the variance process, which based off the height of that structure over 15 feet, we'd probably want to take a look at it anyways.
Okay. All right. What action would the council like to take?
Is this a reading?
Oh, this is a first reading. It's true.
Is it-
Oh, it's a public hearing. Oh, I'm
Public
sorry. All
hearing.
right. Okay, let me open public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the council as in favor of this ordinance? Seeing no one, would anyone wish to address in opposition? Seeing no one, we will close public hearing and move it back to council for discussion or action.
I propose that the council declare the first reading of ordinance 562, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Lindsay, amending section 1807.050 and 1808050 of the Lindsay Municipal Code pertaining to accessory and garden structures, height limitations, and waive the reading in full.
Second.
Would the clerk please take roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Salinas.
Aye.
Councilmember Velasquez.
Aye.
Councilor Watson.
Aye.
Mayor Kimball.
Aye. All right, the first reading have ordinance 526 has been approved. 562. Thank you. Next item, is this a public hearing? It's not, right? Okay. It's second reading of ordinance 561, use addition to highway commercial zoning district. Brian?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And council, this is the second reading for proposed ordinance 561. At the last council meeting, we had the opportunity to hear from both staff as well as the applicant, and I think there has been some positive movement there. I confirmed with Gordon that he was able to get in touch with McDermott and have a conversation with them. What that produced, I'm not sure yet. Basically, staff's recommendation is to approve the second reading of the ordinance, and then at such time when they request a site plan review for the structure, if they do, that we move forward with any of the additional details during that time. What this request will ultimately allow is just the idea of a sports complex or a sports facility within the highway commercial district. So the question really is, are we okay with that?
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to hear they have reached out to McDermott. I think they reached out to each one of us, and I thought they might be here tonight. But
He did submit an email. Unfortunately, due to the heavy weather conditions down there, they were unable to make it. It's just things are looking too dangerous for them to make the trip, and so they did send their condolences for not being able to make it. And they are happy to answer any questions should council have them there. They make themselves readily available.
And Madam Mayor, I did confirm with Clint that there was a dialogue there, and want to stress at this time that you're not approving them to build a single thing. You're just simply saying this use is okay in the highway commercial zoning district, and they have the right to provide an application to you.
okay, thank you.
So is this a motion for,
It would be a
adoption.
second reading for adoption, yeah.
or is it just, you don't say second reading, right?
Well, to waive the
Motion.
second reading.
And waive the second reading in full, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I propose the council adopt ordinance number 561, an ordinance of the City Council of City Lindsay amending chapter 18.10 of the Lindsay Municipal Code pertaining to adding new uses to the conditional use listing, and waive the reading of the ordinance.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian. Would the clerk please take roll?
Councilmember Velasquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Watson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Salinas.
Aye.
Mayor Kimball.
Aye. Ordinance 561 has been adopted. On a 4-0 vote. Next item, Resolution 1802, dedication of land from Mr. Macias. Resolution allowing for dedication of land. Brian?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this request is in regards to temporary parcel map 16-16, as well as resolution 17-14, approved on April 25th back in 2017. One of the requirements of that temporary parcel map and resolution is that the applicant dedicate ample right-of-way to provide width of 28 feet north of the center line on Fresno Street, in front of real property known as APN 199-070-030. This is a common requirement just to make sure that we take this opportunity to make sure we have the ample right-of-way north of the center line for that property. These types of parcel maps and these types of similar requests are the appropriate timing to request that, just to make sure that any future development of that road is done completely in public right-of-way without having to work with property owners. I guess it's one less property owner we'd have to worry about, and the right-of-way would be ours. I do want to make a few corrections on Resolution 18-02. It appears in the title referencing the south 8 feet of lot that was left as XX as a placeholder. That is lot 18 in block 61 of the city of Lindsay. And also under the first section says that whereas, currently it says J. Raudel Macias. What happened was there was a previous project where everything is pretty much identical, even down to the same street, and evidently the same family. And so that is supposed to read as Andy Macias is the applicant for this project. And so those are the corrections I'm proposing. Other than that, everything else is requested to remain the same. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Mike?
No.
There are two related items here. This first one is a resolution. Okay. So, did I entertain a motion?
I move for approval of resolution number 1714 as amended.
Is that the resolution or
They're both
1714? They're both resolutions. One says minute order.
So the resolution we're looking at tonight is resolution 18-02. The other resolution 17-14 was provided as reference to show that the
So we're
requirement.
approving 82.
1802, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
So that's what your motion was?
Yes, I move for approval of resolution number 1802 as amended. That's the one that's amended. And rescind my prior motion for resolution that no longer needs to be Resolved.
I'll second that.
Would the clerk please take roll?
Sorry, who was the second?
Watson.
Sorry.
Councilor Velasquez.
Don't you guys love that I'm on this?
Well, I was getting all
resolution?
confused looking at this stuff myself, so, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Councilor Watson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem
I
Sims.
forgot to say again.
Mayor Kimball.
Aye. Resolution 1802 passes 4-0. And the next item is what? Acceptance of final map. Is that resolution 1714 or is that something else? Okay.
No, so
All right.
the approval of the final map only requires minute order approval.
Okay.
And so that's what we're looking at for the next item.
Minute order of approval of the
Partial.
final parcel map.
Yeah.
Accepting the parcel map for his dedication. Okay. Motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Seconded by
Right.
Moved by Selena,
He's
seconded
in
by
or something.
Velasquez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. That motion carries 4-0. We have an informational item. City engineer responsible we have an agreement authorization, conversion of street lamps to LED. Brian, you're still on.
A correction, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, that would be Mike's project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have
All right.
no knowledge
Mike.
of any LED.
That's his baby.
I have no knowledge of anything other than resolution 1714.
That was resolved.
Oh, that was resolved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. City of Lindsay's been talking about, and I think some council members have heard that Edison's been converting streetlights to LED, and the opportunity has now been brought to the City of Lindsay. And just briefly, Edison's proposing an agreement that would convert our network of nearly 600 lights from high-pressure sodium to LED. The City of Lindsay would be responsible for the cost of the conversion. However, Edison is willing to put together a 20-year agreement. But even with the cost of the conversion, we would see about a $2,500 annual savings once the project is done. So at the end of the 20-year agreement period, Southern Cal Edison's estimating over $10,000, even up to $12,000 annual savings. So the request this evening is that council authorize city manager to execute the Option E energy efficiency light emitting diode fixture replacement project. Status of timing, it could begin in 2018 this year. What we heard this morning from our meeting with Brian Thoburn, and actually one of his planners from the Tulare office, is they're looking at bidding this Tulare County area now. And so they understand that the LED conversions for Southern California bidding has been done. They've awarded the project in Southern California. So we could see something as early as the end of this year. What the memo identifies, that's anticipated to begin in 2019. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
What is the output for the new LEDs compared to what we currently have? Is it brighter?
The answer is yes. Simple comparison is high pressure sodium, referred to as amber or yellow, and the LED is going to be a white light. And so we have a reduction in comparable lumens. Wattage is less, comparable wattage is less, but the light projected is as strong but white.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm for it.
Sounds like a good deal to me.
Yeah, maybe Danny and Tony would like to contract out for that.
The one thing we're still gonna have to deal with is the city-owned lights. So, I mean, that's something we'll have to work on during this time.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Do
you need approval?
You need a minute order approval, I presume. Moved by
Second.
Selena, seconded by Watson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No one, that motion carries. And we are to item 11, informational items, city engineer responsible successor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With Mr. Jim Whitten's sudden passing, Whitten Associates has retained a civil engineer with all the rights and privileges that Jim possessed. This is critical for approval of land division projects without having to have a licensed surveyor on staff. This is a temporary assignment to allow Whitten Associates to move current projects forward with the City of Lindsay. The current city engineer contract is valid until April 24, 2019. City Attorney Zamora has reviewed the existing contract and the letter of assignment for Whitten Associates and has approved the ability to complete pending projects with Whitten Associates. The letter of assignment identifies Mr. J. Michael Lane as a senior civil engineer for Whitten Associates at this time, and that letter is included for reference. It's anticipated that a new request for proposal will be necessary sooner than the April 2019 current contract expiration. If that's the case, then the city will issue a letter of termination of the existing contract within that 30-day time period. Staff will come back to council if and when the RFP is going to be required and request authorization to re-advertise that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So the engineering, the items that are over there now, I got a question from an individual. How long do you think that'll take to get going? Or is it just we're authorizing it, they can just move forward?
They can move forward. So any project that was there, in fact, we have a list of current projects, they're going to be moved forward pretty quick. Any new project that comes in, they have the authority to take it on and move it as far forward as they can.
Is Michael Lane senior or junior?
Senior.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Our next item is Resolution 1803, Acknowledgement of Bargaining Unit Negotiations. Brett?
All right, this will be quick. The agreements with both the SEIU and LPOA have expired, and we are in discussions with SEIU currently, and we begin with the LPOA on the 22nd of this month. We're looking to wrap up the SEIU ones, hopefully the next few weeks. We're down to the last few items with that one. They're touchy items, so we'll see how it goes, but those are the ones we're working on. So we just need to make sure that for PERS and other entities, they know that the council has acknowledged that we are in bargaining right now.
Okay, so we're basically saying we're aware as a council that you're in bargaining with the units by resolution. Any questions?
About do you have an idea, or I'm sure you have an exact idea of what percentage is that they're asking for as far as an increase?
Those are all so intertwined, it's hard to really say just what an increase would be, because there's trading, there's negotiating going on all the fronts from all the things that touch employees there. So I don't know if I could say the exact number today.
Okay.
Do they represent all of our employees? Because I know in the past there was a group that weren't part of the union.
We have two main bargaining units. One is we term miscellaneous. That's gonna be all non-public safety employees. In public safety, we have dispatch. Dispatch is part of the miscellaneous, but the officers and the rest are part of the LPOA, the Lindsay Police Officers Association. And then the SEIU is the
Surface something employees union.
Service Employees
International. Big.
And so that's the city services employees, the finance department employees, the wellness employees, they were the full-time government employees, everyone that's not it's not management, executive level, and not officer in the police department.
Okay, if there's no further questions, what action would the council like to take? It's been moved by Salinas,
Second.
seconded by Watson. Would the clerk please take roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Salinas.
Aye.
Councilmember Watson.
Aye.
Councilmember Velasquez.
Aye.
Mayor Kimball.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, resolution 1803 passes 4-0. Next item, are there any requests for future agenda items?
Just the cannabis issue and where we are, maybe get that back. I mean, don't want to let that go too far. I know that, they made some changes at the federal level with passing some stuff and how that affects this whole process. Also, something to do with the electrical grid and how that affects us too.
Yeah.
The, I'm sure you guys are working on the fireworks ordinance and also the health and safety ordinance that we talked about in regards to the trailer park. I had a client come in after New Year's Day, no, it's January 2nd. They lived just outside of town and they had 7 bullet holes in the roof of their garage from guns, not small caliber either,
Going off on New Year's?
shooting up into the air, falling into their garage. Yeah.
Because the garage is
So we need a
7 foot
gunshot
or 15.
We need a gunshot ordinance. Don't we have one of those already?
Yeah, really. I don't know how
There
you
was
do that.
I think the Fresno Police Department was showing their equipment where they can narrow it down. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
They
pretty
they
good.
could narrow it down that was done.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
All right.
Third.